Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming today. Such a beautiful day. I'm glad you guys are inside with us. My name is Rob Cacuzo. I'm the former editor of Nantucket Magazine. The existing editor is here today, so I got to be careful. But Brian's here, doing a fantastic job, then magazine. But longtime Nantucket lover, author, and now a publisher. I'm here with two complete strangers of mine. This is going to be probably the hardest interview I've ever done because after the fact, I'm going to hear about what I did wrong.
More than you know. You're going to get it from both of us.
Not at all.
Jenny Johnson, Billy Costa. Jenny is my wife. Billy is my co-husband.
I'm sorry. I am the man of honor.
Man of honor.
This is true.
And the honorary uncle to our two little daughters here.
Hello, ladies.
Jenny and Billy have had amazing collaboration over the last 20 years. They're actually the longest running television duo in Boston history existing today.
Well, in Boston.
That's what I said.
Oh, okay, good.
No, really, take your seat.
So take a note that this is what this is going to be like. This is going to be like.
It's like being home, isn't it?
Oh, gosh. Okay, here we go.
In Boston, which I did say. I must have mumbled it, which I'm sure you'll tell me about later. But together they've amassed nearly 10 Emmy Awards together. They also have a radio program on WBZ called Food for Thought. Their program on Nessun is Dining Playbook. And now they together are authors of a delicious new cookbook called A Taste of Boston, which we're going to talk about today.
He forgot about Meet Boston.
Thank God you said it. Thank God you said it.
I was saving you on that one.
I was going to get there. They're also the creators of another program on Nessun called Meet Boston, which is actually a fantastic way to look at the city. It's kind of a kaleidoscopic view of all the ins and outs of Boston, all the neighborhoods, told through the perspective of all different folks.
You know what it is? It's a taste of Boston.
That's why you get paid the big bucks.
I'm just kidding. Knock it off.
But this is a very interesting cookbook because it's not a traditional cookbook, and I'm not going to fill in the blank here on why I don't think it is, but it's kind of a unique taste on the culinary scene in the city. And so what was the inspiration? Tell us kind of how this came together and why it's a different kind of cookbook that would be on a shelf than what you'd normally pull down to make a recipe.
Well, we've had a unique opportunity to know the hospitality scene throughout New England, but certainly mostly Boston for 20 years together, and you longer than that. And we have really unique relationships with some of the most celebrated chefs and restaurateurs in the city. And we've kind of watched them grow. We've watched them go from being, line cooks to sous cooks to executive chefs to opening their own restaurants to opening multi-restaurants. And these people are our friends. So we have a unique perspective on who they are, both in the kitchen and outside of the kitchen. And we wanted to be able to tell that story. So after 20 years of working together, we wanted something we could hold in our hands, which is different than the television shows that we produce all the time. And we wanted to celebrate our city in a really unique way. So in here you'll find 60 chefs, 60 recipes, and 60 stories about who these people are to us.
And what's cool is over the years, Jenny and I have had a chance to watch the culinary scene grow in Boston, because for the longest time they were taking shots at Boston saying, well, it's not New York, it's not Chicago. Well, Boston is everything now. It's come a long way, and it's a wonderful, wonderful culinary city. But I do have to give credit where credit's due. The book was Jenny's idea. And you know Jenny, she's a powerhouse. Once she makes up her mind on something, she decides we should do a book. We're doing a book. And we did a book. So thank you for that, Jenny.
Yeah, I definitely remember when she kind of hatched the idea, and to see it come to fruition. And within a year, I mean, they put this book together within a year. 60 chefs, the amount of kind of content creation to do that in a single year is pretty astounding. So kudos to you guys. And I didn't help at all, honestly.
Yeah, we decided that wasn't a recipe for success. That was not one of the recipes you wanted to read in this book. Actually, I will say you were very helpful. You were able to work through some things that we would not have otherwise understood.
I want to circle back, though, just on what you said about the 60 chefs, because for me, what differentiates this cookbook from what other cookbooks possess is that there is a very intimate look at these different chefs. You get to understand their motivations, their backstories, these pieces that kind of come through in their food, but for most people goes unseen because all you have is your plate in front of you. So as you kind of scroll through your mind on the different stories that are in this book, are there particular people that stick with you and whose story kind of illuminates the culinary world?
So many. I'll start with Joanne Chang, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
She's been a friend of ours for a very long time. Myers and Chang in Boston, Flour Bakery in Boston, many, many, many flour bakeries. And I think the first line in there is something like, I don't think you're supposed to call somebody perfect, but if there's somebody close to it, it's Joanne Chang. And she's a very unique story. She went to Harvard as a very unique math major, like one of those math majors that maybe had 2 kids in the class or something like that.
She was Mensa at Harvard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And ultimately left, was working at a consulting firm, had, a trajectory that was going to be pretty impressive. And she called her parents and was like, this isn't for me. And she ultimately created one of the most successful brands in Boston. But one of the things I love about Joanne's story is not only the great success she's had or the great pivot that she made in her life, but also that she gives back in so many ways. And I think that's a theme that you'll see throughout this book is not only the passions within the kitchen, but the passions outside the kitchen that they have. So she is a big advocate for Share Our Strength, No Kid Hungry. And you hear a lot of the things that she does on a day-to-day basis to sort of help the, just like the world of food in a really different way than the way that we're enjoying it when we're sitting in her restaurant.
And Joanne is a perfect example of us watching someone and watching the food scene grow. I mean, when we first met Joanne, she was the pastry chef at the Charles Hotel at Rialto, the restaurant, and then at one point decided, you know what, I'm going to move to New York and study dessert making and pastry making in a world-class way, which she did, and then she came back to Boston. And one of the reasons we got into what we're doing is because Jenny and I just adored the camaraderie in the business, in the relationships between the chefs and their staffs and the restaurants. You never sensed competition. So having witnessed all that, we would tell the story through the TV show. And I think with the book, it gave us an opportunity to get even closer to them and to their stories.
Just on the point that you just mentioned, starting at Rialto, one of the things you'll find in this book is the family tree of hospitality in Boston, because you'll watch so many of the big names, from Lydia Shire to Joanne Chang to Jody Adams to Anna Sortune. These are all, I just mentioned, I think all women, did I? Yes, there's a huge female presence within hospitality and in the restaurants in Boston, which is something that, it wasn't planned that more than 50% of the people in here are female chefs, but that's just what Boston is. And I think that's something that we always want to celebrate. There's a real strong female presence in the city.
Unless you've worked in a restaurant or you have a job like yours where you're kind of behind the scenes of a restaurant, you might not fully appreciate just how challenging it is in that industry to have a restaurant endure, be successful. Even after they're successful, some go out of business. And so you two have had this unique vantage over the 20 years to see that struggle. And I'm wondering if you could lend some insight to those that might not be as familiar with that struggle, how challenging it is. Because sometimes when you look at it, you think, why would someone do this? Like, why would a chef owner get involved with this? It's so hard. The attrition rate is so high. So what's kind of your perspective on what it takes to survive?
Well, we had such a respect for what you're describing that we wanted to tell their stories. And I think that's one of the main features, right? Well,
you say all the time, and it's something that I repeat often, we think it's one of the hardest working industries that there is. In a lot of ways, it's thankless. We as a society can be a little critical. So people come in and they have a lot to say about what they like or what they don't like, and yet you're typically 90% of the time always greeted with someone that's offering grace and a smile and positivity. It's also from a economic perspective, the margins are very, very small. I think the thought of the hospitality industry is that these chefs and restaurateurs are making big bucks and and living grand, and they're working until very early in the morning. They oftentimes get home certainly like well after their spouses and their kids are asleep, and they get into this industry for us. Like for us, the guest that is coming in. And I think that to me is the most inspiring story that we've been able to tell, is to have people know that they've created a living based on giving us an opportunity to make special memories.
And the challenges that they face along the way. Just the pandemic is one example. Imagine if you gave your life savings, and in some cases your family's life savings, to open the restaurant you've always dreamt of having, and the very next morning the pandemic hits. So it's challenges like that they not only have to experience, but they have to survive.
What is the recipe for those that do survive? The ones that have been the staples, the ones that have endured? Is it a combination of the strong chef personality that people come to know the name brand? Is it just consistency? Like what are the things that is it location?
It's a combination. You use the word combination, and I feel like that's exactly what it is. I mean, it's the right part of the neighborhood and the right part of the city. I think it's being able to morph with the trends. We all are privy to walking into a place and having an idea what a current trend is, and having the restaurant make sure that they're creating that within their space. I think it's talent and it's personality. Right now I think the personality-driven, both chefs and restaurateurs who are greeting their guests is a big one, but it's so multifaceted. I mean, it's the space that they've created. Mm-hmm. It's the menu that they're constantly evolving. It's what they're doing on social media, which for better or for worse plays a really big role into a lot of the restaurants that are succeeding or not. And so it's very multifaceted. I don't know that I think just like so many areas in life, if someone had a crystal ball, they'd say this is the recipe, but I think it is really multifaceted.
And it seems like the restaurants, in my mind, are like a prism into the culture of a surrounding city. Mm-hmm. It's kind of this key piece that we can measure the cultural wellness of a place. Mm. I also think that the restaurants serve as kind of an introductory area, like where new ingredients, new preparations, new things that people integrate into their own kitchens. I mean, from my personal experience, I can remember, and this is kind of a lame example, but I hated Brussels sprouts growing up, hated them. Like any type of green vegetable was not my thing. But then once they started rolling Brussels sprouts into restaurants, like now they're like my staple. Mm. And so I'm wondering, and I hope you don't use something like Brussels sprouts as an example, but have you seen other ingredients or other trends that have emerged from these restaurants that now have become such commonplace? And maybe is there something on the horizon that it's the next quinoa, it's the next
avocado comes to mind.
He can't stand avocado. You can't put an avocado next to this man, and it's actually a lot of fun for me and my team because sometimes we just get it close to his face just so he squirms. And I love avocado, so he has to watch me
Or
eat
you
them
try me
regularly.
sometimes, and you don't tell me avocado is in it.
And he knows. As far as trends, I would say one that we watched emerge that I feel like we're lucky to see stick for the most part is this idea of farm to table. So this idea of sourcing locally. And I think we got away from it for a long time. And I think you're really seeing it come back in a way that people appreciate the fact that these restaurateurs have a really strong relationship with the farmers, with the fishermen, and so I think that that's something that's really important. Fresh, local, knowing where your food comes from. I desperately hope that's not a trend and is something that we're going to see stick around because I think it has so many specific health benefits. But as it relates to trends, what else can I tell you? I mean, using a lot of the food that you're eating in your meals and your cocktails. So that's more of a sort of mixology answer. But I think people are appreciating the idea that this chive that they have in their entree is also somehow muddled into what they're drinking in their drink.
And they've become more than bartenders. They've almost become scientists. It's like, mixologist is a good word, but it takes a lot of work to get respected in the industry for that. And yet when Jenny and I walk into some restaurants and we sit down at the bar and, the bartender or mixologist starts making a drink, we're like, oh man, that's phenomenal.
What was I was trying to remember when you were answering that question, this idea that, restaurants also become portals to like an international fare. Yeah. And one person that came to mind was like Jose Duarte.
I was just about to say that.
Who and I'm trying to remember exactly, because I think it would be interesting for people to keep an eye on this particular, it was like a bean that he brought over.
Oh, so many things. I mean, Jose was talking about quinoa well before quinoa was quinoa.
Yeah.
A lupino bean is the bean. So like Jose is an example of a very international chef. His family's from Peru. His wife's family's from Italy. He has a Peruvian-Italian restaurant. He also has a straight Peruvian restaurant. And I think one of the really interesting things that both you'll read in the book and see from the chefs in our area is there is a lot of international flavor coming to our city. And Jose is a great example of that. We've been able to travel to
one of the
Italy
international
and
shows
Peru,
we did, you went to Peru with Chef Jose.
Yeah. And so I think that's a big deal is when I just was distracted by my daughter who fell asleep, I think. That's how exciting this is.
Yeah, we do this to people.
Yeah, okay. Luckily you guys aren't sleeping. But anyway, and I think Boston is certainly a global city, right? We have a big international presence, and I think, Billy, you referenced what was maybe 30 years ago, not as strong of a culinary scene, and what has become is such an amalgamation of flavors at all these top spaces because these chefs are catering to international people, but they're also traveling. And so watching chefs travel internationally and bring those flavors back, I think is one of the things that makes both this cookbook and also the restaurants in Boston very unique.
This is going to be a lob for you, Jenny. If you were to come up with a recipe that you'd like to tinker with the trends or the techniques or the rest of the ingredients that are used within a kitchen, what would be those things? I'll let you fill in the blank.
Aren't you living that every day?
I'm living that, but I'm talking about...
He's living that every day. Costs are a big thing in kitchens, and one of the things that helps save costs is using things like seed oils, and I think that's what you're kind of referencing. I personally have had a very interesting journey as it relates to the way that I eat, and a lot of that has to do with personal family stuff. We had a daughter who was sick with a lot of allergies. It opened my eyes to a lot of things. Luckily, she doesn't have them anymore. But it really started having me pay attention to food in a very different way. And I think you'll start to see chefs start paying attention to food in a very different way too. So I guess my hope is that we're able to create an infrastructure for restaurants where costs are able to be stabilized in a way that we can also help preserve the nature of our health. So seed oils can be inflammatory to our bodies, and so when we're cooking at home, it's we're cooking with our olive oil or our ghee or our more high quality fat. And I think we're going to see a trend that's going to start happening in the restaurants as well.
Well, think about even something like gluten-free.
Yeah.
That has grown in such a large way. And I remember a day when Jenny and I brought the team in, and we were shooting at Nebo
Yep.
with the Pilata sisters at their original location, which was close to the TD Garden, then the Boston Garden, I think. And I had never even heard anything about it, and yet they were advertising. They had a complete gluten-free menu, a separate menu of the regular menu. And it was the first experience I had with it. As it happens, my wife is gluten-free now, but nobody talked about it then. So that's another one of those, I don't know if trend is the right word, but we've had the ability to watch it grow and make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, menus definitely have to be customized to meet a lot of different restrictions, and I think the fact that that is happening just speaks to a larger conversation about how we're managing food as a country and as a society. People often say, I feel so much better when I eat that stuff in Europe, or I feel so much better when I, and the truth is that their practices are a lot different than our practices. And so, the hope is that as we continue to learn more, we have more of a focus on the ways that we are taking care of the industry and as a whole.
And this is kind of obviously the cookbook were recipes, the stories of the chefs. I think on the stage today, though, there's another opportunity to understand what goes into creating a program that's been around for the duration it's been. I mean, it's a rare thing to have a program on for 20 years. And I'm wondering if you could bring us behind the scenes to help us understand, what is it? What is the recipe for success that keeps it enduring? I mean, what?
Genius comes to mind. Knock it off. Knock it off. I don't know. The comment I get the most is that, Jenny and I have such great chemistry. And I guess because of our chemistry, we're able to explain what it is we're doing and why, where we're going and why, and we kind of do it in a fun way. It's not always very serious. Actually, it's never very serious.
That's true. Our team would beg to differ. They would say that I'm serious.
Okay, so she lets her hair down when she's with us.
Yeah.
No.
I think as it relates to the recipe, I do think our chemistry is a big part of it, because we didn't necessarily we weren't seeking to be able to do this in this way. It just kind of evolved in a very natural way. Our team is an enormous part about it. Right now, we actually have our entire 8-person team on island. We're shooting 15 restaurants on Nantucket over the next 4 days. So we're doing an hour special called A Taste of Nantucket. Maybe someday there'll be a Taste of Nantucket cookbook. You never know. So our team is a big part of that. And I think The other part is the passion for the story. We're very passionate about the city that we live in, especially the second show that we just launched, Meet Boston. The program is an opportunity to tell Boston from a variety of different perspectives, because if you're traveling to Boston, it's different than if you're traveling to Boston, the things that you want to do, the things that you want to see. And so we show the city in such a unique variety of ways. So it's certainly passion, it's certainly devotion, like we're very devoted to the city, and we're also very connected to the philanthropic world, which I think brings us into the picture within our city in a really unique way.
And I'd say like one thing that you didn't mention, which is kind of an interesting ingredient that no longer plays such a role, but back in the day, you would do some outrageous things. Like there was some, especially Jenny, I think, was that point where she was really earning her
The eating
stripes.
challenges, is that what
yeah.
you're talking
She
about?
kind of
It was
becomes
like
the
today
stunt
would-
woman.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
today would be unfathomable, but back
Yeah.
then, I think when I first met you, you were just coming on the tail end of it. And I'd love to hear just rattle off a couple of the good ones.
Well, you
Okay.
just
So there
recently
was-
did the wasabi challenge.
Oh, I did. I did
Yeah.
wasabi roulette. If you go to Hojoko, which is a restaurant right by Fenway in Boston, they have this beautiful, it's in the book, the recipe, so you can recreate it at home. It's sushi, and in it they hide, told you about this, right, Vienna? They hide 2 grams of wasabi in one of the sushi bites, okay? So it's on this plate, and you spin it, and in the center is literally a little baby bottle, and in it is rice water, which cools the heat if you happen to pick up the wasabi. And so the other day on the show, it always happens, they brought it out, and I did 3 out of the 6, and I made it through 3 out of the 6, and he's like, do more. And I was like, no, I'm done.
One more.
I did pretty well, I'm done. But so the challenges, the country's largest lobster roll I ate, which was like, I don't know, enormous. I think I got 3/4 of the way done. I did the all the way challenge, which was, it was 5 pounds of food.
Oh, the giant
Yeah.
hamburger at
Yeah.
Tasty Burger near
Yes,
Fenway
very
Park.
good, very good.
She
Yeah,
sat down for like an hour and a half. It's sweating. And
it was tough. And
She was 2 bites from finishing
I
it.
know, it was so close. But and the worst part was it was the day before Thanksgiving, which was completely ruined for me. Completely ruined. It was not a fun Thanksgiving, but it was a fun thing to do.
And I'm like, you can't give up now.
Why did I do those things? I don't know.
I mean, I think before you had kids,
Yeah.
and me,
Yeah.
primarily,
Yeah.
your life was the show, and you're
Yes.
going to put your body on the line for good content.
He
Not to
used
say it's
call
not
he
still
used
for
to
the
call
show.
me a garbage disposal, is what he used to call me.
Well, you had a amazing appetite when I first met
I
you.
still do. It's just different.
Just
I'm
a
more
different.
choosy. Yeah,
Don't forget you dove off the roof of the ICA
I did that. I did that.
for the Red Bull.
Yeah, we've had a
cliff
lot of
divers.
unique opportunities in being able to tell the story of Boston, for sure.
And it's so much fun watching.
Yeah. What, me?
Because then as soon as she says, I'm going to do it, thank God. Because I was next up.
It's true. It's true.
Talk a little bit about just looking at Boston as a culinary destination. One, I want you to weigh in on where you think, obviously you're biased, but where you think it kind of fits within the country's culinary landscape, and then globally. And an addendum to that question is, what do you think the impact of having a Michelin restaurant?
Got it.
Maybe you can give some context to people about why there isn't one yet.
Well, there is one coming. Yeah.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can talk about the Michelin part. So for a very long time, we didn't have any Michelin rating locally or regionally. And it's a tricky conversation because, as many of you may not know, there's money attached to it, right? So it's not kind of this just unique, unanimous group that comes in and tries these restaurants. There's a lot of money that's attached to being able to have a Michelin guide within the city. And so I think for a long time, Boston felt like, Boston, the kind of Boston mentality that we have, we can stand on our own 2 feet, we don't need this kind of thing. But there's been growing desire, because I think the Michelin rating has had added cachet in a way that I think Boston wanted to make sure that they could be a part of. And so recently, our partner organization, Meet Boston, which is the organization responsible for bringing tourism to the city of Boston from all over the world, made the decision to take part in a partnership with the Michelin Guide. And so the chefs have mixed feelings about it, the restaurateurs have mixed feelings about it, but I think for the most part, there's excitement.
Do you think a lot of people would go to a restaurant simply because
So I'll tell you something.
Michelin?
We just went to Charleston for the first time.
Yeah?
And I can think of other cities and other examples of where we've gone recently. And I spend a substantial amount of time looking, but I look for James Beard Award winners.
Yeah.
And so for me, like if I'm going to a city because of what I do for a living, I want to make sure I'm going to the hottest places for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which drives him absolutely crazy. Because it's like, can we just be spontaneous and like eat somewhere random? And
Just a meal,
This
you know.
looks like a nice place.
it's literally just a meal, but we will be the people that wait in line at 4:30 for the restaurant that opens at 5 because there's a chance we can get in at the bar, you know? So, but you usually have great
I'm just
meals.
kidding. I do love it.
Okay, so that's what I look for personally, because James Beard, I think, has, even though that also has still evolved, I'm sorry, I just keep looking at her daughter. It's just passed out, everybody. It's just so riveting. I think James Beard holds clout in a way that feels more substantial to me personally than Michelin.
So do I.
Yeah. I don't know where I went with that. Globally, locally, all the things.
That's good. I
Yeah.
think you checked the box on that
Okay.
one. We'll have to lock the doors on this answer, but for the folks that aren't privy to Boston's culinary world, if you were going to recommend breakfast, lunch, and dinner, the ultimate meals that they have to go to, and then kind of elaborate on why, what are you ordering, fill in the blanks.
So that's like the hardest question. Okay.
Are there any chefs in the room?
No.
Okay.
We're what do
All
we
sworn to secrecy.
We always say the same thing for dinner. Is it still yours, Sorlena? Go ahead. You give a different one for
It's
dinner.
starting to be Woods Hill Pier 4.
Yes, I would
And
say
especially
Woods Hill.
this season going into the summer. I mean, I don't know how many folks are from Boston or know its history, but Anthony's Pier 4 was a legendary restaurant on a legendary spot. And since it was gone, Kristen opened Woods Hill Pier 4, which is a gorgeous restaurant. And the outdoor dining is second to none in the country, right out in the harbor.
Yeah,
And you mentioned
great.
farm to table, and she owns a farm, and a lot of what she serves at the restaurant, up to and including ingredients for the drinks at the bar,
Yeah.
it's farm to table as big as it gets.
It's a great one. A restaurant that I always recommend.
So that's your dinner, just to be clear.
That's
your
for
his
dinner.
That's his.
And maybe you could add a dessert after just get
Like
the...
we're going to a different place for
Yeah,
dessert?
yeah, which we
Oh, this
typically
is
do.
Crushing. Yes, we do typically do.
Okay.
Well, you want the cookie skillet? Is that the one that you love?
Where do they sell that?
You know, the one at Oak Longboard.
Oh, that's delicious.
Yeah, you like that one?
It's very
But go give her your dinner.
Okay, so I'm going to give my dessert actually, because we're going to be here forever. If we so I would say, so Sofra is a place that you can go for breakfast or lunch or dinner, but their pastries are done by Maura Kilpatrick. Maura was trained by Anna Sortune. Follow me along in this family tree. Was trained by Anna Sortune, who is like the godmother in Boston. She's extraordinary. She has Oleana, and so I would go to Sofra for dessert. On that note, Anna Sortune also trained Cassie, who has sarma, which I always say
And to give
is my
people some...
favorite
So
place.
Sarma is where? It's in...
So Sarma's in Somerville, actually, so it's just outside. She's multi-time James Beard nomination. Fingers crossed, the awards come out next week. She's up for a big award next week. And the flavor combinations that you enjoy at Sarma are unlike any you have had almost anywhere. And the culture that she creates within her kitchen is also second to none, just truly superb and impressive. So can I go there for dinner?
That's your dinner. So what about you're going to have a nice outdoor dining situation for lunch?
Okay.
Doesn't have to be outdoor, but...
Okay, but yeah, this time of year is good. Okay, I'm gonna say, do you have one?
Well, you're thinking, I'll go brunch,
Okay.
Dovetail in Charlestown.
Oh, God.
Chicken and waffles.
Okay. It's a cute little cafe. Very
And it's
cute.
got a beautiful outdoor cafe. It's like, trees everywhere and cobblestones, and you literally feel like you're overseas.
Salty Girl is a restaurant on Newbury Street. It actually was formerly called Mette, which is actually where we went on our first date, ironically. And that feels like a nice transport out of the city. Very European feeling, very interesting caviar. Kathy Seidel is the owner. She has roots in Nantucket too. And that's a great place to go to for lunch. Breakfast, the one that's coming to mind for me right now, interestingly enough, is in what was the old Ritz. Is that what the Newbury was?
Yeah.
what was the old Ritz is now the Newbury, right at the top of the Back Bay. There's a restaurant there for breakfast that I love. It's just the restaurant inside the Newbury.
Contessa?
No, that's not
City Bar?
breakfast. Yeah,
City Bar is awesome.
Yeah, it's very
awesome spot.
yeah, yeah.
This might not have a good answer, but I'm going to ask the question. Unless you had a television program like yours, how do you get into a restaurant that has impossible reservations?
I have an answer. I call Jenny.
I'm happy to
Because
give you
I don't want to be the one, hi, this is Billy, and I'm hoping you can squeeze me in. So whenever it's a situation like that,
Well,
I call Jenny.
I mean, here's the truth. When people talk to me about Boston, if they're coming to visit Boston, or if I'm talking to somebody who's looking to get into a restaurant, I love the opportunity to be able to introduce people to my friends, our chef friends, these restaurants. Because at the end of the day, I want your trip to Boston to be as magical as I know Boston is. And if it's not, that's not so fun. You know, and I think sometimes we get stuck in the rut of going to the, Capitol Grills or the names, and I'm not saying anything negative about them, but we get kind of, we know this name, so we'll go here.
Yeah.
Or maybe we solely rely on Yelp reviews, which I don't ever suggest. And so what I do is I make the reservations. I mean, I make reservations for virtually everybody and make those calls because I know that they're going to have a great experience. I know that my chef friends are going to appreciate the opportunity for a new customer. But otherwise, how do you do it? I don't. Well, I will tell you something. Open Table does not show all the reservations, if you didn't know that. So it's always worth calling the restaurant, and it's always worth showing up at 4:30 because you can always sit at the bar.
Yeah, and I get calls all the time, like literally every day, and it's always like inopportune. It's like they'll call me the day before Valentine's Day.
And so then guess what he
so
does?
they can go for dinner with 6 people.
He calls me, is what happens
Sometimes
next.
I don't. I save you from some of them.
yeah.
Like, okay, just 2 nights ago, there was a massive concert at Gillette Stadium, The Weeknd. You probably don't know who he is, but, complete sellout at Gillette Stadium. There's a Davios at Gillette Stadium, and I get a call from my boss at iHeart because all the record label guys who bring this artist into Gillette Stadium wanted to go to dinner. So he calls me the day of and wants to have a table at Davios for 8 people. And, I saved you from this one.
Well, that was kind.
So I made the call and they
That's
made it
because
happen.
you called me for him the week before. That's why you saved me for that.
And we had to cancel.
Anyway, I don't think there's a great recipe for that, but when you're going to any city, like I said, the research is something that makes the experience of a city very special, and just finding the places that are gonna, tickle your taste buds.
This question's a little out of left field. Should be appropriate for me what to ask. A little pun there. Your show's on Nesson, so you've got some exposure to the Red Sox and Bruins. Do you have any fun stories of working with any of those athletes? Any?
Oh boy.
Any backstories?
We definitely do. You have better ones.
Okay, I can tell one, and I don't know it's for everybody, but
We are in a church.
we we get to do interviews on the field. Now, I've lived in Boston my whole life. I grew up in East Cambridge. I've never
Huge
left
sports
Boston.
fan.
And a big sports fan. Grew up loving the Red Sox. I love all sports. So the fact that we can be on the field anytime we want during batting practice and interview any of the players we want and not talk about baseball, but talk about their lives and the food they eat and the meals they have at home. So Mookie Betts was still with the Red Sox before they sent him to the Dodgers. And so I interview Mookie Betts, and we have fun. And all of a sudden, I don't know if you're familiar with Barstool Sports, it's huge. And somehow they took a clip of my interview with Mookie Betts and kind of sped it up a little. So instead of me saying, for the TV show, and I'm going to be doing some cooking with Mookie Betts, they turned it into, I'm going to be doing some cocaine with Mookie Betts.
This is real.
And it was real.
And it got really crazy really fast.
Well, my first thought is, I'm going to get a call in 2 minutes from Jenny. She's going to say, the people at Nesson are freaking out that you're talking about doing cocaine with Mookie Betts. I said, it wasn't that. It was cooking. You remember? We did it on the show. And then I'm worried that Mookie's going to hear it and get mad, and worry if the Red Sox are going to get mad. I was on the verge of getting lawyers to sue Barstool Sports until somebody said, oh no, don't do that. That's what they want you to do because then they get all your followers. That's their whole game. But yeah, for the record, no, I didn't
That was
do
a big
cocaine
one.
with Mookie
Yeah,
Betts.
that was a lot. That was a lot.
Yeah, and Jenny's like,
I-
what are we going to do? What are we going to do?
That was an early morning rise. I will say one of the things I like to talk about is that we interview all the players for all the sports teams, and without a shadow of a doubt, the athletes who are the kindest, the easiest to work with, I feel like the most family-oriented. I watch them with their kids, with their spouses, and this is, I'm not saying anything negative about any of their other sports, but there's not even a close second compared to the hockey players. I mean, they are, and you think about what these hockey players do on the ice and like the way that they act there, seeing them in person is, I mean, they're just incredible
The nicest
people.
guys on
the
earth.
nicest, most down-to-earth, most enjoyable people to be around.
And that goes for Brad Marchand, too. By the way, now he may get a Stanley Cup.
Oh, the best.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And they let him go.
I know.
What has surprised you since the book's been out? Like what?
I'll tell you something.
Go ahead.
There are many people who have reached out to me on social media who have made every single recipe in this book. And I want to say, could I please come over and eat it? Because that seems like a great opportunity.
Wow.
We still have not made all of them. I mean, we had a recipe tester who did, so just note that they're all recipe tested and taste well. But people have really committed to being able to taste all of the recipes of these chefs. I love that.
Did that person make the cottage cheese pancakes that you and I made?
It's not even one person, it's many people.
Wow.
So it's been cool.
Have you found that your own cooking skills, are they actually, like Billy, I'm going to direct this to you, because I always enjoy watching you cooking with these chefs. Have your culinary skills improved
Now, when
over
you
the
say
20 years?
you enjoy watching me cook with
Because
the
I
chef,
always think there's an
does that mean you
opportunity for
enjoy
some type
laughing?
of flame coming out.
I
or some,
there's
there's always
have
like
a tendency of creating flame for
bloodshed.
no reason.
Yeah, he likes that.
Yeah.
But have you felt like you've actually improved? Do you like if you come home?
He's not doing it.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you're going to come home, then you have to do this. If you had to come home and cook dinner for your wife, what are you going to put on the stove?
He's gonna call one of the restaurants.
You got to take a thing of ramen out.
No, I'll pick up the book. I'll study it for a couple of days and choose the
He's not
perfect
cooking.
dish. And then Michelle will kick me out of the kitchen.
Yes, very true.
Yeah, could you just go sit down? Why don't you get yourself a glass of wine?
Yeah.
So,
Jenny,
What?
how's your cooking skills these days?
Oh, I feel like I've learned so much from these people, these friends of ours, and these very talented chefs. I'm constantly learning new things, and I feel much more comfortable in the kitchen than I did certainly before I met you.
did you notice, Rob, that she's not much of a sharer?
with
I'm
food?
telling
He
you, so
notices
many
very
times
often,
when
yeah.
we go into shoots, I always have to meet Jenny, or 90% of the time I have to meet Jenny in her car because she's taking a break, she's in the car, and she's having her soup that she made in this giant canister. And when I sit in the car, the damn soup smells so good, you'd think she'd offer me.
Don't
some.
offer, you're
You
right.
know,
I
once.
I just
She's
assumed you
just
didn't
shoveling it in.
Soup's not much of a sharing food.
But
Like you said, she was hoarding a box of pizza, which I've seen.
you say that eating with me is like a Olympic event because
It's
you
like
really
it's
just
a
gotta.
contact sport. I remember
Yeah.
the first time we started. We had that's when I fell in love when we went and sat down. I've never ordered. I'll rephrase that. Since we've been together, I have never really ordered my own meals. She's just like, I'll say,
Oh.
it's usually, and it's
Rob,
usually,
you'll have, you should get this.
No. It's better than that. It's usually we order 3 entrees just so we can make sure we try everything, and it's usually competitive eating. I want to open it to questions, but before I do, so you can think of what you're going to ask. Before I do, I wanted to ask, if you were to change something or add something to Boston's restaurant world, what would that be?
Well, for the past 7 years, I've been studying Ayurveda, which is sort of the culinary attachment to Indian cooking and an Indian way of living. So I'd love to see an Ayurvedic restaurant there, or I'd love to see, just like a 100% focus on sort of the healing of our bodies in a way that feels most nourishing.
Is there one?
No,
Well, maybe you guys should open one.
no, thank you.
We got 2 kids,
Yeah,
2
no,
businesses.
thank you.
One thing about the restaurant business that I've always really appreciated, you notice I'm dodging the question.
Yeah, he doesn't have any idea.
But I'm always trying to get into the mind of a chef owner. somebody who's dedicated his whole life, worked for other restaurants over the years, and finally decided to take the plunge, get the financing together, and open a restaurant, design the restaurant, whatever. And just sit there the first morning your doors open, wondering if anyone's going to come in. It always fascinates. That takes such courage. And that's another reason we just appreciate the culinary scene and the chefs and the food industry and everything so much.
Yeah.
I think about that all the time.
Any questions?
Yeah, right here.
I was curious about your choosing James Beard as your James Beard winners as your guide to restaurants, because I find lately a lot of their choices are way out there, esoteric as award winners, and I was wondering what you thought about the Eater guides.
You know, I do like Eater. I think like any of these guides come with their own biases, right? Biases, you know, so you're seeing, you know, we have a great Eater. Our Eater happens to live outside the city, and so you oftentimes see her showcasing things in Somerville and Cambridge, which have great restaurants, but it's like she doesn't quite get over to Dorchester or Alston or Brighton. So I think, I would say when you're looking to find great places in different cities, different touch points are important. And then obviously it's important what you see on the menu. And I don't know if you do social media, I have a very mixed feeling in relationship with it because mostly I don't want to use that as the barometer, but you can tell a lot by their social media and tell a lot by the food and the way that they're cooking and their websites too, but you're seeing less focus on individual restaurants' websites and more focus on their social media. So that's, you know, that's an area that I use too. So it's not only one, but I do think that as it relates to these guides, you'll find really unique dining experiences from, and I'm not saying only James Beard winners, it's James Beard recognized restaurants or nominated restaurants, but I personally like the process that they go through more than some of the other guides. But go with Eater. Eater, like some of my favorites are regularly on Eater, you know, they're Eater 38, they're whatever, their best 38. You'll get some good restaurants there. And then obviously think to yourself, if you're visiting a new city, what neighborhoods do I want to see? What am I doing earlier in the day? I think there's so many factors that happen. When people say to us, what's your favorite restaurant in Boston? It's like, well, are you going with your husband? Are you going with your girlfriends? Are you looking to be outside? Are you looking for Italian? Like, you got to give me a little bit more to give you what
breakfast, lunch,
yeah,
dinner,
exactly.
yeah.
So there's so many factors.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? Yes, sir.
Eric.
Oh, Carrie, hi. How are you?
So you mentioned Sorolina.
Yes.
I'm curious, so the Columbus Hospitality, I think.
Yes.
What do you attribute Sorolina and Mistral and Moo and Ostra?
Yeah.
Like, these people have been consistent and excellent for
Yeah.
so many years, and that seems to elude many of the newer folks coming in to town that don't quite make it. So what do you think keeps them?
So it was a very unique recipe. So Jamie Mamana is the you know, creator, you know, behind that, and then a couple of other great partners. I would say for that particular group, it had to do with how they cultivated hospitality, right? So I think you can have a focus on a great menu, which they certainly do. You can have a focus on, you know, great atmosphere, which they certainly do. But they've cultivated an atmosphere within the community of that hospitality group that I think has kept everybody really positive and happy and excited about what they're creating and what they're inventing. And I think this is maybe like an esoteric thing to say, but like when you're working in a really positive atmosphere, like that comes through in the food that you eat. You're gonna taste that, you're gonna experience that in all facets. So I think you do have to fire on a lot of cylinders, and that restaurant group certainly does. The ones that aren't making it, you know, it's really hard these days, and they started beforehand. And I do think that where they're focused now, because I talk to a lot of members of that group, they're focused on younger than my generation because they don't have as much of that. So I don't know that there's another 20, they're 25 years, I think. I don't know that there's another 25 years, hopefully, I'm sure there is, but that's where their focus has to be right now because things are changing so quickly.
And
it is much harder to create that
And when
now.
it comes to Columbus, I mean, longevity speaks volumes, doesn't it? I mean, they've been doing it for so long, and yet every time you go back, it could be a long time between visits, but it never fails, whether it's Mistral or whether it's Sorolina or whether it's Moo. whenever you go, you feel as special as you did the first time you went. So they're still doing it as good after all those years. And that's not an easy thing to do.
Good to see you.
Yes.
Yes.
Brian.
Hi, Brian.
You guys are working on an Nantucket restaurant project.
Yes.
Are there any restaurants on Nantucket that you like, or any that you're?
Oh, so many, so many, so many, so many. Well, I always start with proprietors for many reasons, but one of which Orla, the proprietor of Proprietors, introduced me to Rob. And so she's a special character in our lives. And again, those are flavor combinations that you're not going to experience anywhere else. Gabriel at Straight Wharf, tried and true, forever, forever, forever. Such a talented, dedicated chef, passionate chef, who we both have known for decades.
And that's always been my favorite here, Straight Wharf.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you've spent a lot of time out here too, Bill.
Sure did.
Let's see, what else do I love? Well, I'll tell you the places that we're going on the show, because those are the places, people are like, did you choose? And I was like, of course I did. Lemon Press I love. I think it's been a really nice addition to the island from a sort of healthy perspective, but also really interesting flavors. We're going to Millie's, so great for the kids and such a beautiful place to enjoy the other side of the island.
Juice bar?
Yeah, you got to get some ice cream, clearly. We're going to Crew. I think it's just certainly a special occasion, but a very interesting place to enjoy. We're going to, where else are we going, girls?
And Nantucket is one
Oh,
of
we're
those
going
places.
to Black Eyed Susan's,
Yeah.
which is great for breakfast, but if you haven't been there for dinner, so good. They brought back the old school chef who is now there at the helm doing an awesome job. What am I missing? Oh, we went to Pip and Anchor. If you don't spend any time mid-island and haven't gone to Pip and Anchor, I love it so much. I mean, what they have done to support local farmers and local purveyors is pretty awesome, and they have a tremendous lunch. Naomi is actually a James Beard nominated chef, and so she's now running the culinary piece of Pip and Anchor. Oh yeah, fresh for lunch is fun. Something natural my kids love. It's still a tried and true. Oh yeah, we did yoga this morning at Supta. If you guys are yoga fans, that's my go-to yoga studio.
Sounds like a great show.
It's a great show. You should watch it. When's it airing? June 28th on
That
Netflix.
soon?
If you want to see, these poor videographer editors, they got their
my.
hands full. Those are some of them. Yeah, did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
But I mean that you would say?
Oh, God, don't put me on this one.
Okay, fine. All right, fine. Yes, question in the back. We didn't actually go, but so one of the other benefits I have is I write to all my chef friends, and they obviously travel to all these cities, and I do like the common denominator. It was on a lot of the lists. We went to Fig. That was the one that we had an amazing meal at, among others. And interestingly enough, there's a few of the stores, there's a lot of Nantucket, South Carolina connection. The Raw 167 has a spot in both locations, as you know, and that place has become very hot and happening. And so, yeah, that was one of the ones.
Thank you, ladies and
Oh.
gentlemen, for being here.
One more last question.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, let's end on that note.
Oh.
So, it's very complicated. We've known Barbara for a very long time. I think, it's worth saying there's many different sides to all of us, right? I think she's a very, very, very talented woman who's done a lot for the culinary scene in Boston. And we certainly wish her,
giant.
wish her well. But it's complicated. It's a complicated industry that has seen a lot of different evolutions, and I think it's a complicated society where there's a lot of different conversations that we might not have been able to anticipate, but she did a lot of great for the city of Boston. Yeah.
Thank you, too.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out.